Ravi stood on the edge of the launch deck, staring at the giant silver ship. Its smooth surface reflected the light from Earth's sun. It didn't look like any ship he had ever seen. This was no normal mission. This was the first human visit to planet Zetra, a newly discovered world with intelligent alien life. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. Ravi was not a soldier or a leader. He was an engineer and a language expert. Chosen for one reason: he was calm, smart, and good at learning new things. Earth needed someone who could understand the Zetrian culture without causing trouble. The Zetrians had already visited Earth once. They were tall, smooth-skinned, and had large eyes that changed color based on emotion. They were peaceful, advanced, and very curious about humans. The Zetra Council had now invited one human to visit their world, and Ravi had been chosen. The journey to Zetra took just 2 hours using their advanced jump drive. One moment, Ravi was in orbit around Earth. The next, the ship came out of a bright tunnel of light and hovered above a glowing blue planet with rings that shimmered like diamonds. Zetra was beautiful. Floating cities moved slowly across the sky. The buildings were curved like seashells. Forests below glowed with soft lights, and rivers sparkled like glass. Ravi watched it all through the window in silence. It was like stepping into a dream. As the ship landed, the doors opened, and a small group of aliens waited for him. One of them stepped forward. She was slightly taller than him, with light purple skin and silver eyes. She wore a soft robe with green and gold threads. Her voice was gentle but clear. "I am Myra. I will be your guide," she said, bowing. Ravi smiled and returned the bow, trying not to look nervous. "I'm honored to be here." Myra led him to a small transport pod that floated above the ground. As they traveled through the city, she explained things in simple words. Ravi listened closely and asked questions. She was patient and kind, often laughing softly when he got a word wrong in her language. "You learn fast," she said, "faster than most." Ravi smiled. "Maybe it's because you're a good teacher." They arrived at the Zetrian Council Hall, a giant dome with shining walls and floating light orbs. Inside, he met more leaders, answered peaceful questions, and showed how humans solve problems using Earth technology. The Zetrians were impressed, but more than anything, they were fascinated by human emotions, love, courage, sadness, and hope. Days passed. Ravi continued to study their language and help teach them about Earth. Each day, he spent hours with Myra. She showed him the floating gardens, the memory pools, and the tall sky bridges. She even taught him to ride a skybird like a flying manta ray. The more time they spent together, the closer they became. Myra was different from anyone Ravi had met. She was curious, smart, and sometimes playful. She liked to ask questions about human food, music, and jokes. One evening, Myra and Ravi sat on a high ledge, watching the twin moons of Zetra rise over the silver ocean. "You miss Earth?" Myra asked softly. "Sometimes," Ravi said. "This world, it's hard not to love it." Myra turned, her eyes toward him. They were glowing soft green, the Zetrian color for peace. "You are not like others," she said. "You listen. You do not judge. That is rare." Ravi looked down, feeling shy. "Maybe I'm just trying to be a good guest." Myra smiled but said nothing. The next morning she told him, "Today, I want you to meet my family." Ravi was surprised. "Your family?" "Yes," she said calmly. "They want to see the human I work with." "It is tradition." Ravi nodded slowly. "Sure, I'd be happy to meet them." But something in her voice felt a little strange. When she looked at him, her eyes were glowing a soft pink, the color of nervousness. That evening, Myra brought Ravi to her family home. It was a large glowing dome near the city edge. The inside was full of warm light, floating cushions, and music made from crystal strings. Her parents, siblings, and elders were all there, dressed in fine robes. Looked at Ravi with deep curiosity. He bowed politely and greeted them in Zetrian. They smiled and welcomed him. Mira stepped forward and said something long in her native tongue. The room fell completely silent. Every Zetrian in the room stared at Ravi with wide, glowing eyes. He leaned closer to Mira and whispered, "What? Did you just say?" Mira turned to him slowly. Her silver eyes shimmered. "I introduced you to my family," she said softly. Then, after a pause, she added, as my husband Ravi blinked, "Wait." Mira grabbed his hand gently and smiled to her family. Still pretending everything was normal? "Please," she whispered quickly. "Just go along with it. I will explain later." Ravi's heart raced. He looked around at the smiling faces, the glowing eyes, the quiet excitement in the room. He had no idea what was happening. Dinner was served. Strange floating fruits, glowing bread, and soft-colored drinks were offered. Everyone asked him polite questions, and he tried to answer. Mira stayed close to him the whole time, her hand never leaving his, by the time the evening ended. Ravi was full, but his mind was spinning. As they walked outside, he finally said, "Mira, what's going on?" She stopped under a glowing tree and looked at him with serious eyes. "I will tell you everything," she said. "Please understand, I had no other choice." Ravi stood frozen under the glowing tree, trying to understand what Mira had just said. "You introduced me as your husband," he repeated slowly. Mira nodded, her silver eyes glowing soft orange, the color of worry. "I know this is confusing," she said gently, "but please listen. In Zetrian culture, when a woman respects someone deeply, when she trusts him with her spirit, she must introduce him to her family as her bonded partner. If she doesn't, it brings shame." Ravi blinked. "But we're just friends. I didn't even know about this rule." Mira looked down. "You didn't need to. The feelings were mine. I never expected it to become real. But then, my mother asked me, and I couldn't lie." He sat down on a stone bench near the tree, still holding his breath. "So, they think I'm your husband now? Just like that?" "Not a legal husband," Mira said quickly. "Not the way humans marry. But in their eyes, you are my chosen one. Unless I tell them otherwise." Ravi looked up at her. "And if you tell them otherwise?" Her eyes turned dull blue, the color of sorrow. "Then they will say, I am dishonest, or that I am ashamed of my feelings. That would bring disgrace to my name and to the honor of my clan." Ravi felt a heavy weight on his chest. Hadn't asked for this. But somehow, he was now part of a tradition he didn't understand. And it meant everything to Mira. He looked at her carefully. She had never lied to him. She had been kind, patient, and loyal since the first day. Now she had risked her family's pride for him. After a long pause, Ravi nodded slowly. "I'll go along with it. For now," he said, "but I need you to explain everything. I don't want to make a mistake." Mira's eyes glowed bright green, the color of joy. She smiled gently. "I promise. I'll teach you everything." The next morning, Ravi woke up in the guest room of Mira's family home. The bed was soft and surrounded by floating lights that changed color with his mood. A small crystal orb near the door showed images of Earth, probably something Mira had programmed for his comfort. He got dressed in the clothes they had given him, along flowing tunic with a soft belt and a small family emblem pinned near the shoulder. He still didn't understand everything, but Mira told him this would show he was part of the house. When he stepped outside, Mira was waiting with a warm drink in her hands. She handed it to him and smiled. "Today, we visit the shrine of bonds. It's part of the tradition. You don't have to say anything, just stand beside me." "What if I do something wrong?" Ravi asked. "You won't," she said. "Just be you." They took a floating platform across the glowing city. The shrine of bonds stood on a high cliff. It was a wide circle of stone, with lights swirling above it like stars. A priestess in soft robes greeted them and guided them to the center. Mira spoke a few words in Zetrian. Ravi didn't understand all of it, but he recognized one word repeated again and again: trust. When it was done, the priestess gave them a pair of glowing bands. Mira gently slipped one onto Ravi's wrist. "It's only a symbol," she whispered. "You can remove it any time." He looked at the band. It was light, smooth, and warm. Somehow, It felt right. After the ceremony, they returned home. Mira's family was waiting. Her mother, tall and elegant, walked up to Ravi and placed her hands on his shoulders. "You honor us, Earth One," she said softly in broken English. "We welcome you." Ravi bowed. "Thank you. I'm honored to be here." Dinner that night was even larger than before. Many members of Myra's extended family arrived, cousins, uncles, even a respected elder from another city. Everyone wanted to see the human bondmate. Ravi answered their questions kindly. He told stories about Earth, shared a few jokes, and even sang a short Earth song when asked. The family laughed, clapped, and cheered. Mira watched him with quiet pride. After the meal, Mira pulled him aside to the garden. "I was afraid," she said. "Afraid you'd run away when I told you." "I thought about it," Ravi said honestly, "but I stayed because I don't want to hurt you, and maybe part of me is curious to see where this goes." Mira nodded, her eyes glowing soft green again. "You are not like the others who came before. You make your own path." They sat quietly in the garden, listening to the wind chimes made of glowing shells. Ravi felt something he hadn't expected: peace. Even though everything was strange, even though he didn't fully understand their ways, he felt accepted. But not everyone was happy. From a nearby window, a tall figure watched them. His eyes glowed sharp red, the color of jealousy. His name was Thornock, a high-ranking member of the city. He had once hoped to bond with Mira. She had rejected him, gently but clearly. And now, a human had taken his place. A weak, soft-spoken outsider, unacceptable. Thornock clenched his fists. His pride burned like fire. He would not let this insult pass. That night, as Ravi lay in bed, he stared at the soft glow above his head. He thought of his home on Earth, his small apartment, his quiet life. He closed his eyes and whispered, "What did I get myself into?" But deep inside, a part of him whispered back something important. The next morning, Ravi woke up early. The city outside the window was quiet. Soft golden mist floated through the air as the sun rose over the glowing hills. It had been a week since Mira introduced him to her family as her bondmate, and things still didn't feel normal. He got dressed and went out into the garden. Mira was already there, standing near the floating flowers, her eyes watching the sky. "Good morning," Ravi said. She turned and smiled. "Slept well?" "Better than I thought I would," he said. "That's why I want to explain everything today. You deserve to know the truth." They sat on a smooth bench beneath a glowing tree, and Mira began to speak. "In Zetrian culture," she said slowly, "a bond is more than a promise. It is a reflection of spirit. We don't bond only for love. We bond for respect, for trust, for deep connection. When I introduced you as my bondmate, I did not lie. You earned that place." Ravi looked at her, surprised. "But we've only known each other for a few weeks. That's enough for us," Myra said gently. "Time is not as important as truth." Ravi stayed silent for a while. He looked at the silver band on his wrist, the one given during the bonding ceremony. It still glowed softly. "But what happens now?" he asked. Mira hesitated, then said, "Now, you must choose." "Choose?" "Yes," she said. "The bond can only be kept if both agree. You can say no. If you walk away now, I will tell my family it was my mistake. They will forgive me. Time. But if you say yes, then you truly become my bondmate in spirit and name." Ravi's heart beat faster. He hadn't expected this. He had come to Zetra as a guest, a visitor. And now he was standing at the edge of a life-changing decision. Mira looked calm, but her eyes glowed soft pink nervousness. She was waiting, giving him space. Ravi didn't know what to say. He looked around at the quiet garden, the floating flowers, the sky full of twin suns. Zetra was strange, but it felt real. And Mira was more than a friend now. She had stood beside him, trusted him, and even protected him from embarrassment. "I don't know if I'm ready to say yes," he said honestly. "I don't want to walk away either." Mira nodded slowly. "Let us give it time. No rush. No pressure." Ravi smiled. "Thank you." Later that day, the city held a festival. Colorful ribbons floated through the air. Music played from crystal towers, and children flew kites made of shining light. Mira invited Ravi to walk with her through the market streets. Everyone greeted them warmly. A few even bowed to Ravi and called him Chosen One. That made him feel awkward, but Mira told him it was a sign of respect. As they walked, they stopped at a booth with handmade ornaments. Mira picked up a small glowing stone shaped like a teardrop. "This is a gift for someone you care for," she said. Ravi looked at it. "Does it mean something?" "It means, I see your heart." He bought it and gave it to Mira. She smiled and held it close, but not far away, like someone else was watching. Thornock stood in a tall tower. His eyes narrowed as he saw Mira and Ravi laughing together. "They cheer for him," he muttered. "They forget who I am." Thornock was once promised to Myra before she refused. He had power, skill, and high family rank. But Mira had chosen friendship and kindness over pride. Now a human had taken the place he believed was his. He turned and spoke to his assistant. "Call the council. I will challenge him." That evening, Mira and Ravi returned home. As they stepped through the gate, a small, flying orb came toward them, spoke in a calm voice. "Message from the council? A challenge has been issued." Myra's eyes went wide. "No. What kind of challenge?" Ravi asked. She looked at him, worry in her voice. "It is called the Trial of Honor, a public test. You must accept or reject it before the sun rises." Ravi frowned. "Who sent it?" "Thornock." Mira took Ravi inside and explained everything. The Trial of Honor was an ancient Zetrian custom. When someone questioned a bond, they could challenge it through a public test. It was not a fight of violence, but of spirit. The trial had 3 parts: a test of logic, a test of courage, and a test of heart. "If you reject the trial," Mira said, "Thornock will say you are unworthy. Some will believe him." Ravi sighed. "I didn't come here to fight for someone's honor." "I know," she said, "but sometimes the heart chooses its own battle." Ravi looked into her eyes. She wasn't asking him to do it, but he could see the fear inside her. If he lost, it would not only hurt him, it would hurt her too. After a long silence, Ravi nodded. "I'll accept the trial." Mira placed her hand on his. "You are braver than you think." That night, Ravi could not sleep. He walked alone through the garden, thinking about everything that had happened. He had come to Zetra to learn, to build peace. Now he was in the middle of a bond, a challenge, a test that would decide how others saw him not just as a human, but as Mira's chosen one. He sat on the bench beneath the glowing tree and looked up at the twin moons. "I don't know what I'm doing," he whispered. "I won't let her down." The morning sun rose slowly over the glowing city of Zetra. Ravi woke up feeling a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the first day of the Trial of Honor training. He dressed carefully in the clothes Mira's family had given him. The tunic was soft and light, and the silver band on his wrist shone faintly. He looked at himself in the mirror and sighed. "I have no idea what I'm doing," he said quietly. Mira smiled from the doorway. "You are not alone. I will be with you every step." Ravi nodded, feeling comforted. Their first stop was the Hall of Wisdom, a tall building with walls made of shining crystal. Inside, the air smelled like fresh rain and soft flowers. At the center stood a group of teachers, with calm eyes and patient smiles. The head teacher, an elder named Yalin, stepped forward. "Ravi," he said gently, "today you begin learning what it means to be a bondmate in Zetrian culture. This is not just a title. It is a role of respect, care, and strength." Ravi listened carefully as Yalin explained the first part of the trial, the test of logic. "You will face puzzles and questions that require clear thought," Yalin said. "Zetrians value wisdom above all." Ravi's mind sharpened as he solved strange puzzles. Some were like earth riddles, but others were new and strange. One asked him to arrange glowing stones in patterns that matched the stars. Myra stayed close, guiding him with soft words. "You think like a human," she said. "That can help, but sometimes you must see the answer with your heart, not just your mind." Ravi smiled. "I'll try." After the tests, they moved to the Field of Courage. The field was wide and open, filled with soft hills and clear streams. At the center was a large stone circle, glowing softly. Here, Ravi would face challenges to show his bravery. Not with weapons or fighting, but by acting with calm and kindness in difficult situations. The first test was simple, but hard. A young Zetrian child ran into the circle, frightened by a strange noise. Ravi was asked to calm the child without using words. He knelt down and slowly reached out his hand. The child looked at him with wide eyes, but soon relaxed. Myra smiled. "You have courage, even in quiet moments," she said. Next, Ravi had to cross a narrow, glowing bridge suspended over a deep chasm. His legs shook, but he took slow steps, focusing on the light ahead. When he reached the other side, Mira clapped softly. "Well done," she said. The last part of the day was the test of heart. Ravi and Mira returned to the garden where they had first spoken about the bond. Here, Ravi was asked to perform small acts of care, kindness, and understanding. He helped an elder carry floating fruit baskets, listened patiently to a young woman's story, and learned how to express gratitude in Zetrian signs. At one moment, Myra showed him how to use light touch gestures to calm anxiety and show respect. Ravi practiced, feeling clumsy, but determined. "You are learning," Mira said. "That is what matters." By the end of the day, Ravi was tired, but happy. He looked at Mira and said, "I never thought being a husband would mean so much." Laughed softly. It is not only a word, it is a way of life. Over the next few days, Ravi continued his training. Mira taught him many things: how to prepare traditional meals, how to greet elders with respect, how to participate in the ancient singing ceremonies. Ravi struggled at times. The language was hard, the customs were new. He sometimes felt like he didn't belong. But Mira was always there, patient and kind. One evening, as they walked along the glowing river, Ravi stopped and looked at her. "Why did you choose me?" he asked. Myra looked at the stars reflected in the water. "Because you listen, you do not judge, you try to understand. That is rare among humans." Ravi smiled. "Thank you, that means a lot." She reached out and took his hand. "You are more than just a guest now." However, not everyone was pleased. Thornok, the powerful noble who had challenged Ravi, watched from his dark tower, had sent secret messages to others, gathering support to stop this human from gaining power. "If he passes the trial," Thornok said, "he will be a threat. I must act." One day while Ravi was helping fix a broken machine in the city, he heard angry voices nearby. He turned and saw Thornok speaking loudly to a group of officials. "Humans do not belong here," Thornok declared. "This trial is a farce. We must reject his claim." Myra stepped forward. "Thornok, the trial is the law. Ravi has done well. Let the people decide." The crowd murmured. Some nodded. Others looked uncertain. Ravi felt the weight of their eyes on him. He wanted to say something, but instead, he smiled and spoke calmly. "I am here to learn, to help, to build trust between our worlds." The tension eased slightly. That night, Mira found Ravi alone on the balcony, looking at the stars. "You are strong?" she said softly. "Stronger than I thought." Ravi turned to her. "I am only strong because you believed in me." She took his hand. "And I always will." The day of the trial of honor was coming. Ravi knew it would test everything he had learned. But he also knew one thing for sure: he was no longer alone. He was part of something bigger. He was Myra's bondmate, and he was ready to face whatever came next. The sun was bright over the floating city of Zetra as Ravi prepared for the trial of honor. The entire city buzzed with excitement. News of the human bondmate had spread far and wide. Many were curious, some were doubtful, and a few, like Thornok, were angry. Ravi stood at the edge of the Grand Plaza. Round him, thousands of Zetrians gathered, dressed in colorful robes, their eyes glowing softly with curiosity and hope. Myra stood beside him, her calm presence giving him strength. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed from the opposite side. "I, Thornok, challenge you, human." The tall noble declared, his eyes burned red with pride and anger. "You claim to be worthy, but can you prove it?" The crowd gasped. Some whispered, "The old noble wants to humiliate the outsider." Ravi stepped forward. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "I accept your challenge. Let the trial begin." The trial of honor had 3 parts: a test of logic, a test of courage, and a test of heart. Thornock and Ravi would compete to show who was more worthy. The first test took place in the Hall of Wisdom. The walls were made of crystal that reflected soft light. Inside, strange puzzles hung in the air like glowing threads. Ravi faced the first puzzle, a large sphere covered in symbols. He needed to unlock a pattern that matched the movement of the stars outside the hall. Thornock smirked confidently as he began, but Ravi remembered Mira's words. Sometimes, answers come not only from the mind, but from the heart. He closed his eyes and thought about the night sky he had seen from Earth and Zetra, how both worlds shared the same stars. Slowly, he traced the pattern with his fingers. The sphere glowed bright, and the puzzle opened. The judges nodded with surprise. Thornock looked annoyed, but quickly solved his puzzle too. They were tied. Next was the field of courage. The test was not a battle, but a challenge of bravery and calm under pressure. The judges released a group of wild creatures, small, harmless, but noisy and frightening. Each challenger had to calm. The creatures without weapons or fear, Thornock rushed forward, shouting commands. The creatures scattered in panic. Ravi, however, stayed still. He lowered himself to the ground and began to hum a soft tune. Slowly, the creatures stopped and gathered around him. The crowd cheered. Myra smiled proudly. The final test was the test of heart. It's held in the city's great garden. Here, Ravi and Thornock were given tasks to show kindness, patience, and understanding. Ravi helped a blind elder find her way, patiently guiding her through the glowing paths. Thornock, proud and impatient, struggled with the slow pace. When it was time to speak before the judges, Thornock boasted of his strength and rank. Ravi spoke quietly. "But with honesty, I am here to learn, to respect your world, to build trust between our people. That is my honor," the judges whispered among themselves. Then the chief judge stood and declared, "Ravi has passed the trial." The crowd erupted in cheers. Thornock's face darkened with anger, but he stepped back. After the trial, Myra and Ravi stood together as the city celebrated. Ravi felt proud, not because he had won, but because he had gained respect. He looked at Mira and said, "Thank you for believing in me." She smiled. "You earned it. You are not just a visitor anymore." But Ravi knew this was only the beginning. There were still challenges ahead. 2 days had passed since Ravi won the trial of honor. The people of Zetra now respected him, not just as Mira's bondmate, but also as a man of wisdom and courage. Wherever he walked, Zetrians greeted him with smiles and small bows. The city felt more like home still. Ravi knew deep inside that something was coming, and he was right that evening. As the twin moons of Zetra rose, Mira received an urgent message from the city tower. Her eyes widened as she read the glowing text. She turned to Ravi, worry clear in her voice. "There is a problem," she said. "What kind of problem?" he asked. "The Sky Dome is failing. It's the large station that floats above our city and protects us from sunstorms. It falls, it could destroy parts of the city." Ravi stood up quickly. "Can it be fixed?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, but it requires someone who understands both Earth and Zetrian systems. The Council is asking for you." Ravi took a deep breath. He was not a hero. He was an engineer. But right now, that might be exactly what the city needed. "I'll do it," he said. A small ship carried Ravi and Mira up through the sky, past the glowing clouds and toward the Sky Dome. From a distance, the station looked like a silver flower, with long metal petals, but as they came closer, they could see sparks and smoke coming from one side. Inside the dome, alarms were flashing. Lights flickered, and machines buzzed with warning tones. Several Zetrian engineers rushed toward Ravi as he entered. "The cooling system is down," one of them said. The dome might collapse in 3 hours. Ravi studied the glowing maps. And blinking lights. I need tools, access to the main circuit, and Mira. I want her to help me translate. Mira smiled. Always. They began working side by side. Ravi crawled into tight spaces, fixed broken wires, and used human tools. To repair Zetrian machines, Mira passed him tools, read codes, and helped him understand the station's systems as they worked. Ravi's hands moved fast, but his mind was calm. This was what he was good at. Suddenly the station shook. A loud bang echoed through the walls. What was that? Mira asked. One of the Zetrian guards ran in. A small meteor just hit one of the outer rings. Pressure is dropping. Ravi stood up. We need to seal it now. They rushed to the outer ring where air was hissing through a small crack. Ravi used a patch tool from his earth kit, pressed it on the hole, and activated the seal. The hissing stopped. Everyone clapped in relief. Ravi wiped sweat from his face. Let's keep going. We're not done yet. For the next 2 hours, Ravi and the team worked nonstop. At last, the warning lights turned green. The station's main systems were back online. The chief engineer looked at Ravi with deep respect. You saved this city, he said. Ravi shook his head. We did it together. When they returned to the city, a large crowd had gathered to welcome them. News of Ravi's actions had already spread. The city leaders stood waiting. One of them, a tall elder with glowing eyes, stepped forward. Ravi of Earth, he said, you came as a guest. You became a friend. And now you have become one of us. The crowd cheered. Mira looked at Ravi and said, you didn't just pass a trial. You proved your heart. But while the city celebrated, a message came from Earth. Ravi was called too. The Human Council station in orbit. The message was short and serious. Return immediately. Your mission may be ending. Ravi sat alone in the garden that night. Myra walked over quietly and sat beside him. Will you leave? She asked. I don't know, he said. Earth wants me back. They think I've gone too far. Too far. Maybe they worry I'm not just learning anymore. Maybe they think I've become part of this world. Myra stayed silent for a while. Then she said, do you remember the first day I called you my bondmate? Ravi smiled. How could I forget? Said it to protect my family's honor. But now, I say it because it is true. Ravi looked at her, eyes soft. Mira, don't have to choose tonight, she whispered. But when the time comes, follow your heart. The next day, Ravi stood aboard the Earth ship. The Human Council waited on screen. A voice spoke, calm but firm. Ravi, you were sent to observe, not to bond. Some believe you are too close. To the Zetrians now, we need your final report. Ravi took a deep breath. I didn't plan this, he said, but the bond is real. I didn't just learn from them. I became part of something greater. Humans and Zetrians. We need each other. The council was silent for a long time. Finally, one voice said, you will be given a choice. Return to Earth or stay as our official ambassador. Ravi's heart raced. He looked down at the silver band on his wrist. It still glowed softly, and in his heart he already knew the answer. Ravi stood silently on the Earth ship. The large screen in front of him showed the Human Council leaders from Earth, all dressed in dark uniforms. Their faces were serious. Their voices had been calm but firm. You must choose, they had said. Return home. Or stay with the Zetrians as our official ambassador. The words echoed in his head again and again. Outside the window, Zetra shined like a glowing jewel. The city floated gently in the clouds. The twin moons hovered above it. Ravi felt the weight of 2 worlds pressing on his shoulders. He walked to the viewing deck. Alone. Mira's voice came through the small communicator on his wrist. Where are you? She asked. On the ship, Ravi replied quietly. Gave me a choice. And what does your heart say? Myra asked. He didn't answer right away. So much had happened. He had come here to observe, to learn. But now he had a family, a place, a bond. They're not happy I stayed so long, Ravi said. Some think I forgot who I am, Mira replied softly. You didn't forget, you just became more. Later, Ravi sat in front of the council screen again. The lead voice asked, Have you decided? Calm but clear. Yes, he said. I'm staying. A quiet pause followed. Then the voice asked, You understand this is final? I do, Ravi replied. But I'm not just staying for love. I'm staying for peace, for trust, the future of both worlds. There was no anger, only silence. Then the council member said, Then you are no longer only a guest. From now on, you are Earth's first permanent ambassador. To Zetra, Ravi returned to the planet in a small shuttle. As the ship landed near Myra's home, he saw her waiting in the garden under the glowing trees. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw him. She ran forward, and for a moment, they simply stood together, not speaking. You came back, she whispered. Never really left, Ravi said, smiling. Days passed quickly after that. The city of Zetra held a grand celebration in honor of the new ambassador. People from nearby floating cities came with gifts, lights, and music. There were glowing sky dances, soft songs played with crystal flutes, and floating lights shaped like flowers. Ravi stood beside Mira as the High Elder placed a silver crest. On his tunic, a symbol of peace between Earth and Zetra. You are no longer just a human, the Elder said. You are a bridge between hearts. That evening, Ravi and Mira sat quietly by the river. The water shimmered with the reflection of the stars. Fireflies of light moved slowly over the surface. Ravi looked at Mira, and his voice was gentle. When you introduced me as your husband that first night, I was scared. I know, Mira said with a smile. But now, Ravi continued, if you still mean it, I'd be honored to truly become your bondmate. Mira's eyes glowed soft green, the color of peace and deep joy. You already are, she whispered. But yes, let's make it known to all. The next day, the bond ceremony was held in the Garden of Echoes, a sacred place where memories were held in glowing stones. It was rare for a human and Zetrian to share this ceremony, but the council approved it with full support. Ravi wore a simple silver robe. Myra wore a robe of soft violet and gold. Round them stood their families, friends, and citizens who had followed their story since the beginning. The High Elder began the ceremony. This bond was not created by force or by plan, he said. It was born from respect, trust, and time. Mira and Ravi stepped forward and held each other's hands. A glowing crystal floated above them, and the Elder placed two small lights, one blue, one green, into it. The crystal glowed bright. White, in heart and spirit, you are now joined, the Elder said. The crowd cheered, and small glowing petals floated down from the sky. After the ceremony, Mira's mother hugged Ravi for the first time. You are now truly our son, she said, smiling. Ravi smiled back. Thank you for accepting me. As the stars filled the night sky, Ravi stood with Mira on a tall balcony overlooking the city. He took a deep breath. I thought my journey would end after a few weeks here, he said. But instead, it became a new beginning. Mira nodded, because you opened your heart. Ravi looked at the silver band on his wrist, the same one Mira had given him when this all started. I used to think I didn't belong anywhere, he said. But now I know where I do. With me, Mira said softly. With you, Ravi agreed. Below, the city lights twinkled like stars. Floating gardens drifted gently in the sky. And above them, Earth and Zetra shared the same stars too. Worlds growing closer, one bond at a time, and it all began with one simple sentence. I introduced you to my family as my husband.